Again, we welcome you to the MIAA's Basketball Virtual Media Day, joined by Southern Men's head coach Robert Korn. And, Coach, first of all, let's talk about this season. Coming out of last season, where are your expectations for where your team should be this year?
Well, we're a completely different basketball team. Obviously, losing a guy like Keen Tolman with his physical presence on the floor, and then Jason Adams because of his physical ability on the floor, we're a completely different basketball team. We lost over 50% of our scoring, so we're definitely going to have some guys step up. Obviously, the two guys who stand out with us right now, and mine would be Marcus Addison, who was made third-team All-Conference last year. Can he make that next step to be a top one or two conference player in our conference? And then Jordan Talbert, who was honorable mention last year, can he make that next step? And if those two guys can take the next step, and then some of our new guys come in and produce for us, we got a chance to have another good basketball team.
You don't have any seniors on the roster. What's it like to have leaders who you're going to have next year too, hopefully?
Well, the thing you hope for is the fact that Jordan and Marcus both have started for us for 2 years. So it's not a situation where we got inexperienced guys. These guys have got a lot of experience behind them, and we've got some other guys who are returning as well. But the team knows that Marcus and Jordan have been the two guys that have been our mainstays that are returning players. So it's going to be very important for them to step up and not only contribute on the floor, but take that next step in being a leader on the floor.
Obviously, we're going to see some new faces on the floor, too. Talk about some of the new guys that you think can make really an immediate impact with you on the floor.
Well, anytime you talk about new guys, you got to look at your junior college and your transfer-type players. Wendell is a young man who we feel like has a capability of stepping in and being a strong contributor. He's got the physical presence. Anytime you're coming into a new program, there's going to be a learning cycle, and how quickly you adjust to that learning cycle is going to be a big key to our basketball team. But Wendell is a guy that we're certainly counting on quite a bit. Brian is a guy who comes in and gives us physical size. He's a Rich Borges type player for us. Guys who have followed our league or followed our team for the last few years will understand what I'm talking about there. He's a banger. And then Cameron is a very athletic player who is coming in as a sophomore. And then RJ is a sophomore coming in. He's actually a guy that we recruited out of high school, and he chose to go the junior college route for 1 year. So we feel like he's a guy who can certainly run our basketball team for us. And then anytime you have incoming freshmen, it's going to be a huge jump for them because the jump from a junior college to our level, there's a learning cycle. But there's not only a learning cycle for the high school kids, there's also a physical challenge as well. So those guys, as they develop and get more playing time, we feel like they're going to be contributors as well.
You mentioned that it's going to be a completely different basketball team this year. Where do you think the strength of your team is?
Well, I think we've got versatility. We're not overly big. Greg certainly got a lot of experience last year guarding Keen in practice every day. Even though we redshirted Greg last year as a freshman, he got a lot of game showmanship kind of like on the practice court. So it's a situation where he's going to have to step up and be that inside presence for us. And I think we're not going to be overly big, but I think we've got good overall size. I think we've got versatility in the guys that can play 2 or 3 different positions. We can go small at certain times. Other times we can go a little bit bigger and have good overall size. I really think we got a chance to be a better defensive team than what we were last year. And with that, hopefully comes some offensive opportunities because, as I mentioned earlier, we lost over 50% of our scoring from last year. So some guys have definitely going to have to step up and kind of get us through the hump in that area. But hopefully our defense will be improved enough that we can get some offense out of our defense.
So offensive production potentially a concern. Is depth a concern early with so many new guys?
Well, I think that's a situation where you kind of play your way in and play your way out. We feel like we've got 14 guys on the roster right now. 13 of them are eligible to play, so we feel like we've got 13 opportunities out there, and it's going to be a situation where as the games progress and stuff, hopefully by January we're pretty well set in on a rotation. That is the bad thing about starting your conference so early. Is the fact that we may not be settled in on a rotation by the time we get to conference games. So, and you can't afford to lose a couple of conference games early because if you do, then it knocks you out of the race pretty well. You're swimming upstream the rest of the way. So it's going to be a situation where our guys are going to have to gel pretty quickly. and try to learn each other as much as we possibly can. And we as coaches have got to kind of center in on who we feel like can contribute and who can't.
Talk about the conference schedule starting so early. That limits a little bit what you can do as far as the non-conference schedule goes, but two really exciting exhibition matchups right off the bat. The first week in November, they're going down to Oral Roberts, going up to Columbia to play Mizzou. What do you look to get out of games like that against teams like Mizzou that may be the number 2 preseason team in the SEC probably?
Well, it's going to be a great experience for our players, number one, and we don't have an opportunity to play those type of players and those type of teams very often. So when you get that opportunity, you want to take advantage of it. The thing we're looking at is how hard do we compete, how hard do we play, and how well do we execute. Those are the things you try to gauge on. And, you know, if you're executing, if you're just not making shots because you're really getting pressure, then you can live with that. But if we're going out there and we're being soft with the basketball, if we're not making really sharp passes, things like that, certainly, even though you're playing against a team like Missouri, but those things are the same type of things that will affect you in conference play as well. So you want to make sure that you're executing. You want to make sure that you're playing extremely hard and that you're in a position to make plays. And in Missouri's case, they're going to be better athletes than we are. So there's a chance you can be in a position to make the play and not make it. Sure. But as long as you're in that position to make the play, when we get into conference play, we'll have an opportunity to make more plays.
Let's talk a little bit more about the league. Who do you think, who in your mind is kind of the league favorite? Obviously, Washburn's going to get some love because they didn't really lose anybody off that team last year. So they've got a lot of really talented athletes coming back. Northwest, obviously, coming off such a great season last year, and some teams out there with some question marks.
Well, you're right. Washburn has got all 5 starters back. They've got the majority of their scoring back. They have been preseason ranked number 4 in the country and very deserving. So I think they are one of the elite teams in the country right now. And along with Northwest, they won the conference last year. So I think that's a situation where until somebody knocks them off, those have got to be the 2 top teams. And then Central Missouri's right there with them. You know, they tied actually with them for the conference championship last year. So those 3 teams right there have got to be at the top of our conference in the preseason poll. And you know, there's always been, and I've been in this a long time, this is my 24th year in the MIAA, there's always been a surprise team, there's always been a disappointing team as long as I can remember. So hopefully, you know, we'll fit in that surprise team again this year. We've had an opportunity to do that a couple of times, and I know our 30-3 team, we were preseason 6 out of 10 teams. Right. So I've never put a lot of stock in preseason polls. You still got to prove it on the court, and that's what makes this league so exciting.
You're one of the coaches, obviously, with some question marks, as we've talked about, trying to find some more scoring, that kind of thing. Where do you see your group of guys right now in relation to the rest of the conference?
Well, I don't think we can be up there with those 3 teams I mentioned because of all the players that we lost from last year's team. And then we've got so many new teams that you really don't know about. Central Oklahoma obviously has had a great run here. Last year they were down, but last year it was very difficult for them from a scheduling standpoint. Northeastern has been very good at times, and they've been down the last couple of years. But those 2 programs are very well coached, and they will certainly make some noise in this conference. Nebraska Kearney has historically been a very, very good basketball team, and Lindenwood is kind of an unknown out there because they're not only making the jump to our conference, but they're making the jump to Division II. So, but you know, they're very well coached, and I know a lot of their players up there. So, you know, we've added some really good teams, and it's hard to say, you know, where you're going to fit in because there's so many question marks out there, not only with the returning schools in the conference, but also with the new conferences teams coming in the conference. So, you know, wherever they pick us, they pick us. You know, again, you know, I don't put a lot of stock into it. You still got to play the game.
Coach, thanks. We can't wait to get started.
Thank you.